week. We're getting ready to interview Heather and Arline. I'm really excited to have them here today. So thank you for being with us. And if you really enjoy this interview today, be sure to share it with your friends, because you never know who out there is also looking for high performance strategies to grow their business. You know, we're always wanting to help women show up, giving them a hand up so they can move up, so they can lead up, right? That's what it's all about. So we're collaborating as women, and I'm so happy you guys are here today. So we're going to go ahead and get started on recording the podcast. Here we go. All right, listeners, hello and welcome back to Lead Up for Women, Speak Up to Lead Up. I am in a really great mood today, and I'm so happy to be here. I think it's because I showered and I did my hair, and you know, I'm just gonna say in the quarantine, I'm not going anywhere. I'm not like, I drive my car maybe 3 times a week. How about all of you out there? How often are you driving your cars or going to the store? I honestly never used to go to the store every week, and I think it's my excuse just to go out, to be in public and get some vitamin D and be in the sun. I know that sounds bad, but I was talking to my daughter this morning and she said, "Mom, you're really white. Like, you need to get outside and get some sun." I was like, I love you too, sweetheart. You know, I want to say, when we raise daughters that can be that straight up and upfront with us, we've done a good job. That's the way I look at it, right? So let's get caught up with a few awesome things that are happening with Lead Up for Women. If you haven't already joined us, I'm going to tell you again, we had an amazing Teaching Tuesday this last Tuesday with Jen Duplessis. She taught us so much about creating your business around the lifestyle that you want to have. Women always tend to do this backwards. So it was just beautiful reminders. She gave us free 7 strategies. If you haven't had the opportunity to catch that free and you're a member of Lead Up for Women, please go out to your dashboard, go in and look at the webinars and rewatch that webinar, because that was great. And if you're not a member of Lead Up for Women, we're always inviting women to join our community so that you too can lead up in your life and show up for the people that you need to show up for. So don't forget to get signed up for the next one. We have 2 more available. The next one's going to be August 11th with Ann Andrews. I did a really fun 3-word practice with her about my style. So she asks you about your clothes and what colors do you wear and how do you feel when you're in your clothes. And it really gets down to defining 3 words that are you, and what you stand for, what you represent, how you want to present yourself to the world. And it was just a really fun exercise. So she's going to be talking to us about how we show up matters. So, a little bit more about, probably showering. No, she's not going to talk about that, but how to align your professional image with your brand. And so this is really important, right? Are we showing up in public the way of who we are our values aligned with how we're showing up? So I think that is important, because for me, when everything is aligned, it just gives you the freedom to just be you all the time, and you never have to worry about it. And it's so easy and freeing and fun. It's fun too. We can't forget the word fun. It's fun. I have a little note right here that says, have fun, because I have to remind myself. It's engraved on a bracelet. Have fun. You don't have to be so focused all the time, so we're just going to have fun. We started our Member Monday Spotlight. So if you haven't already started joining us for those, our members come on every Monday morning and I interview somebody live, and it's a new member that we're bringing forward for you to be able to get to know them, find out if they have any events coming on, what tools and resources they have for you to tap into, or just have a conversation. So lots of fun. Starting next month, or in September, we're going to be doing lunch and learns. Many of you that know Lead Up for Women know that we went around the country in 2019. We went to 10 different states, and we are going to be bringing back our lunch and learns virtually. So this is awesome, because we can have women from all over the world coming in and joining us for our lunch and learns. They're 90 minutes. So you can bring your lunch, you can be educated for 90 minutes, you get to meet and network with other women. So it's an opportunity for you to, again, show up, grow your community and your circle, and meet some other women. So another opportunity for you. We're just going to keep building them, ladies. We've got more networking opportunities coming up, because if we're going to be on the screen all day, we might as well be on the screen with other ladies that are powerful and like-minded that we can meet and collaborate with, right? So I'm really excited about that. So let's talk about our guest today, which is the high performing strategies to grow your business is what I named today's show. So that's what you're going to get out of today's show. And I have Arline Warwick with me and Heather Crider. So I'm really excited to start by introducing Heather. Now, Heather is a high performance strategist, a business consultant, and she's a neuro coach. Now, that is what interested me the most about Heather when her and I met several months ago. And I believe we just talked on the phone for hours. We could have just kept going when we first met because we connected so quickly. I love her drive. I love her level of success. I love the mother that she is to her children. And Heather, I'm so excited to have you with us today. So welcome.
Thank you. Can you just follow me around and support me and introduce me like that of just, hey, yeah, this is Heather. That would be awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you remember Mike Tyson, the boxer?
Oh, yeah.
He used to pay someone to follow him around and tell him he was the man. Yeah. So that's a thing. I'm just saying, it's a thing. I always used to tell people, you're so great to me. Could I just put you in my pocket and take you with me all day and you can talk to me? Because that would just be awesome. And yes, I will do that. I can do ringtones for you, whatever you need to make yourself, feel the true woman that you are. Because here's the other thing I just want to say quickly. That's how I see you. That's how I met you. And that's how I see you. So if I see you that way, I'm sure so many other people see you that way. And we tend to not see ourselves as powerful as we are in the way that we show up in the world. So I just want to commend you for how you show up in the world. It's brilliant and it fills other people with hope and love and energy. So thank you for that.
I appreciate that. And I'll extend a very corny ditto right back to you. Yes. So, and like attracts like. That's what is so beautiful about your community and how you're showing up. So thank you for all.
Yeah, absolutely. So Heather, let's go back. Let's talk about a turning point in your life that really led you to you've been in business for more than 20 years, right? We all have a past, but you have this obsessive tendencies with discovering innovative success techniques. Okay, so that's a little bit different than the traditional female and how she runs her business. So take us back and just tell us a little bit of a story so we can get to know you and how that journey started and why it started.
Yeah, it's a very honest question. And this is why it could take me 3 or 4 hours just to answer it alone. So I'll give you the abbreviated version today. And when I really think about a true pivotal moment or those big things, I call them some significant emotional experiences that really drive us to make change and to wake up sometimes. And for me, it was unfortunately or fortunately, depending upon how you look at it, it was many. But quite frankly, when my youngest child was a baby, he was born with not severe issues, but enough issues that an infant, it's stressful when you're having a newborn baby and you have a toddler. And I was in a marriage that was really struggling at the time. And what I realized going through these events, I had just lost my sister, my only sibling, a year before. And then I'm having these other significant emotional events that are really just being thrust upon me. It really forced me to take a step back and evaluate me and how I got lost through this, I'll call it the rose-colored glasses that we tend to develop and we put on different pairs as we go through life. And I grew up in the Midwest. I live in St. Louis, and the Midwest is very traditional of here's your life path. You go to school, you get married, you have babies, maybe you have a career, maybe you don't, but this is your path. And if you veer from it, something's wrong with you. And so I realized I had already had great careers. I owned a business at that time, but I was truly unfulfilled. And just the combination of my son having issues and being very new in this, dealing with this emotional state of losing my sister, my only sibling, it really forced me to take a look at me. And that was something that I don't think I'd ever really done until that point.
Yeah, we tend not to as women because we're it again. And I think when we look at the age of, the average age of the women and the like-minded women that we're attracting to Lead Up for Women, we're all around that same age where we were raised in an era where we did take care of other people. And that was what you're expected, just as you explained. So to step back and take care of us seemed selfish at the time, that, we weren't supposed to put ourselves first. But that's why we're in, we are where we are today, where women in the past several years have really been searching to how they're able to bring their best self forward. And then they're asking themselves the question, well, what is my best self? Who am I? How do I find who I am? So it sounds like you found yourself unfulfilled at a point where you really didn't even know who you were. You weren't happy. What happened from that point?
Yeah. So I took a little rewind and I recalled a conversation. I was very fortunate when I was 18 to meet Zig Ziglar. And I was a huge Zig Ziglar fan, always have been. And it was a very brief encounter, but it was one of those pivotal moments that was impactful to me then, but I kind of forgot about. And when I went back and looked of why that was such a pivotal moment for me, it was everything that he was able to give others. It was everything about him. And people who know Zig Ziglar, it's an easy conversation. But so I really just took a look and what's going to fill me up and help others. The path that I've been on, how can I continue to develop myself and help others and not lose myself anymore? So I got divorced and it was a very, very scary time. I moved away. I started I split the business that I had, started a new one, lived in a community that I didn't know anybody when I moved. But I knew that I had to do these things for me. I had to do them because if I was going to continue to help my clients, I'd already had business clients at that point. I'd already had a corporate career. But the things I was telling my clients, I needed to also truly live those things. And it was an absolute self-exploration to be able to give, to serve, and to live true to that and to learn those things. And that's really, again, continuing that transformation that I had to do that for myself. And talk about a scary, scary thing to do with two small children, moving to a community I'd never really been in much. I didn't know anybody when I moved to this community, and I did it. And we're still here and we're thriving, and we have grown tremendously since then. That's been 10 years now. So that's kind of the crossroads, if you will, the one of the major crossroads that I've had. And I've had many since. I've had other things that have happened since, but the pyramid, if you will, the foundation for me has always been that. If I can take my experiences, really be able to put them in a way to serve others, to help people reduce their own learning curve, it's worth it for me.
Yeah. Yeah, that's beautiful, Heather. I want to anchor in something that you said that was a huge learning moment for anyone listening, which was you have to get uncomfortable to grow and learn and stretch yourself. It has to be uncomfortable. comfortable. You have to do something that scares the hell out of you. And by getting divorced and moving to a totally different community of people you didn't know, I'm assuming scared the hell out of you. And that is what really helped you find the true Heather and how Heather's story looked moving forward, because that's really what you were leading with on how you could grow yourself and learn, but by serving others.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's a saying talking about do one thing each day that scares you. And there's a law of the rubber band, there's definitely ways you can stretch yourself. And as women and mothers and entrepreneurs, we tend to stretch too thin oftentimes, but growing pains are called growing pains for a reason. And to really take a look, and this is, and we can certainly dive into this, but part of everything I do is that reflection process. It's really scary sometimes to get out of your comfort zone, yes, but it's also scary to look at yourself and ask some really hard questions. Is this, am I living my best self? Am I giving my best self? Am I really making decisions that are in alignment with me? Maybe I don't even know what those things are. Those things are very scary. And it's not just stretching yourself outwardly and doing things that scare you. Absolutely. But sometimes just that inner reflection is just as scary.
Yeah, absolutely. And you touched on something that I wanted to elaborate on, which is you have to know what it is about yourself. So if you don't know what your core values are and you don't know what those driving principles are for your core values, and what are you measuring anything to? So that's an important step, that if I ask women, what are your beliefs, what do you stand for, and there's a hesitation, and they'd say family, kind of like as a question because they're not sure, then I'm like, here, I've got a worksheet. I'm just going to send it to you. Go ahead and start circling the things that mean, and we'll start narrowing that down. Because when you know what you stand for, that is the foundation of decision making and how you can live your life moving forward, right? For all internal decisions, external decisions, you really, to show up as your true authentic self, you need to not apologize to anybody for it, but B, you need to know who you are, and your core principles are really what is the foundation for that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very beautifully said. And I would just add to that it's very difficult for people when you're just going through, I call it this autopilot person. So often you get into just autopilot habits, autopilot thoughts, beliefs, and then before you know it, you kind of have these wake up moments and wonder, why do I even think these things? And there's many reasons. There's biological reasons, there's environmental, the way the way we grow up, the influence we have. There's so many reasons to that, but there's different phases as we really drill down on true self-reflection of how we can ask those questions. And it's talk about being scared again. If you hand somebody a worksheet of values that they've never really thought about it, that's enough to scare the hell out of people. And really, then it brings up a whole other slew of things. What is this value? Why, am I good or bad for not feeling or thinking that way? Right. And, we want this peace and joy and fulfillment, but often we chase this euphoric state that's impossible to truly achieve. So once, it's also an education process to really understand how to chunk these things down and look at them in different ways. Sometimes it's just self-acceptance, and I'll give you a great example. My son and I are so much alike, and it's so interesting. And I know you can appreciate this, having so many children and grandchildren, but my daughter's 15 and my son's 12, and we're all very similar. But my son is a very high energy, fast, rapid. He's a tough little guy to wrangle in sometimes as a mother. But I've watched him grow and I've watched how he thinks, and I've realized I think the same way he does. I have such monkey mind. To focus for a long period of time is very challenging for me. And I used to think something was wrong with me. Why can't I focus? What's my problem? Why do I have all these thoughts? But then I really embraced, I had to understand a little bit from the neuroscience perspective, which I love deeply. But once I had more of the understanding of my own brain, my own thought patterns, why I think the way I do, why the habits I formed are because of very clear reasons, then I had a much better able to accept myself and to appreciate those things. And that self-awareness piece is really liberating. It's incredibly empowering just to understand instead of what's wrong with me. And so often, especially as women, when we start struggling, we think something's wrong with us. So I tell you that just from the exploration perspective, it's very hard, but there's so many layers, and just having the patience to go through one little piece at a time can set on such a beautiful path to, it sounds cliche to say, that's why I'm hesitating, just this, there's this freeing feeling, but it's more than that. It's the confidence, it's clarity, it's knowing no matter what challenges, no matter what obstacles come my way, I will have the skills to overcome. And as we continue to grow and really soak up those skills, then we can deal with things better. So anyway, I could go in big circles about all that.
It's beautiful, Heather, and thank you. I mean, there were so many learning points in there for our listeners to take away. Tell me, everyone's curious. You touched on neurocoaching a little bit as you were going through that, because that is something you don't hear every day. So, what is unique about your coaching using the neurology? Well, I'm not going to say it right, so I'm just going to have you jump into how you're coaching and how, as being a neuro coach, what are you able to accomplish with someone, or what sets you apart, and what is so unique about the ability to be certified in that area?
Yeah. So first of all, it's really a process. It's a very different way of looking at development. And no matter if you're a business leader, an entrepreneur, or just somebody who wants to get over a challenge, there's ways that we're taught how to think. And the truth is everybody's different. From a biological perspective, our brains are hardwired, but we have, like I said earlier, just in my own experience, we have all these other things that contribute to our own wiring. So neurocoaching is a evidence-based experiential process that's based on neuroscience. And it sounds very woo-woo when you start thinking about things from this bigger perspective, but it's all based on evidence-based neuroscience techniques of saying the way you think. So Colleen, you and I could have a conversation and I could understand how your brain's wired, but then it's educating you on how your brain is wired and then exploring so you can have your own insights. Because the truth is we all have the ability to retrain our brain. And that's a very powerful thing. The patterns that are developed cause certain behaviors. Certain behaviors are either pleasant or unpleasant. They either contribute to our success or take away from our success. So when we're dealing with certain things, if we can drill down and we can understand better how to interrupt the thought pattern and retrain it into a more pleasurable, productive pattern, then we can achieve more success. So again, from a very big way, it's really taking through a different level of development, retraining the brain, but it's very experiential to the individual. It's not a cookie cutter thing, because again, we may be wired the same way, and males and females, I'm so in love with the brain because we don't know so much about it. But truly, from a biological perspective, female and male brains are biologically different. And if we understand that, if we understand why, and hormones come into play with that. So it is truly a different way of achieving problems, achieving goals that and there's so many different techniques inside of there, but from a bigger perspective, it's really just being able to retrain a thought, because our thoughts create our beliefs and our feelings and our actions and our results. And if we continue to pound our head against the wall, doing the same thing over and over and over, we're not going to get anywhere. And so it's really interrupting that and understanding.
Yeah, I think that word is insanity that they, yeah.
Indeed, it
trying to get a different result. It's not going to happen. You're just doing the same thing. And we find that we do that. So, you know, we're in a world where many, many, many women leaders are emerging. They're waking up. They're taking the front seat. They're taking the lead. We're in many more leadership positions. Female entrepreneurs are developing, you know, weekly by the thousands. And, you know, women are stepping into a different leadership role from now into the future. And with that, we need to understand all of our opportunities that we have in front of us to be able to grow and learn, and to be able to rewire our brain, like you said, and tap into all of the different opportunities that we have to really show up as our best self. For sure. Especially if we want to have the high success, you know, you've got to look at all the strategies possible for that. Absolutely. So Heather, yeah, I appreciate that. That was really, really wonderful. And I know our listeners have a lot better view of who Heather is now that they've had the opportunity to meet you. So tell our listeners how they can connect with you, or if you have something that you want to give away to our audience, please feel free to do so, and how they can connect with you.
Yeah, it's very simple. All my social media, my website is Heather J. Crider. The podcast, Go Reflect Yourself, at goreflectyourself.com. And I have lots of goodies that I can give away, but really the most impactful is a 15 to 30 minute mindfulness and neurostrategy session where we can drill down very quickly. So I'm happy to give your listeners that complimentary, because part of the skills in all of these things that I go through are emotional intelligence skills as well, to really understand and put the pieces together. So heatherjcrider.com and Go Reflect Yourself.
Awesome. I love the name of that. Go reflect yourself. That's just so great. I always say, if there's something going on in your life, you might want to look in the mirror first before you start blaming outside influences, because we are in an uncertain world and we need to get very comfortable creating our own certainty right now, right? So we should all be looking in the mirror and keeping our foot on the gas. So Heather, thank you so much for being with us today. Heather will drop her information in the comment section. And if you're listening on any of your podcast outlets, it'll be available for you in the description section. So Heather, thank you so much for that beautiful gift for our listeners, and for being here and sharing your story, and motivating and inspiring and educating our listeners.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's been wonderful. Well, Arline, you have been so patiently waiting. So I want to say hello and welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I've been looking forward to it for like 2 weeks now.
It's awesome. So in introducing Arline Warwick, you know, she came to me as someone I was really impressed with, that helps businesses in an area where maybe some of us have never had the opportunity to practice in, which is, how do you get sponsorships? How do you get other businesses that are interested in what you're doing? How do you partner with similar messaging? So this is what Arline does. She shows businesses, she helps entrepreneurs and nonprofits really how to target large sums of money to build their organizations, which I hate to break it to you ladies, but anyone that comes to me that says, I don't do what I do for the money, I'm just going to be straight up real with you. Then you have a hobby. You don't have a business, because if you don't have any money, then you can't pay your bills and you can't spread your message and you can't build your company, which means you're not going to be able to help more and more and more people. One thing I do know is, as Heather mentioned, we always want to grow and serve others. So serving others takes money. So Arline, I'm happy that you're here to show us and give us some tips and tricks on how companies can do that. And how did you get into this, Arline? Because I don't know if we ever spoke about that when we chatted.
Oh gosh, it's a very interesting story.
I can't wait.
So I grew up really having an attachment to animals and the environment. And all through life, no matter what I did, I had several careers and businesses. But that was always my hobby, my sideline, to try to do something, start a club for kids for the environment, or just do different things. So I was involved volunteering for a couple of different animal rescue groups. And my niece was also. So here we are. I live in Florida, and it's July. I was just getting ready to sit down and have a nice little cup of coffee, and I get a phone call, and it's my niece, and she's, Arline, I don't know what to do. You've got to get here right away. I just don't know what to do. And I could hear the distress in her voice. And since we had been doing animal rescue, I knew it was not going to be good. So I go down to where she is, and she's at this old crab shack. And I step out of the car. Here it is, July, 100 degrees outside because I'm in Florida. And, whoosh, this awful, awful odor hits me. And then I look down, and there's like 40 cats everywhere. And there are these kittens this big, and their bodies are like feathers, and their heads are like dense golf balls. And so you have to excuse me, I have a bit of a sniffle. So I was devastated. I didn't know what to do. So I made this pouch out of my shirt and started picking it up, putting it in my pouch like a kangaroo. And right then it hit me, and I knew we had to do something, because we were doing a little here and there, but nothing that really could take care of the situation. So I ended up stepping back and thinking, well, all these different businesses and nonprofits that succeed all have sponsors. And sponsors give them money to grow their business. Now, most people get confused and they think sponsorship is a donation, but it is not a donation. It is money given to you to work with a company symbiotically, and you help each other get more visibility and grow. So you don't have to be big to get a sponsorship. Sponsorships make you big. So I want everyone to understand that, because people come to me and they say, oh, I'm new, I'm little, I don't have a big list. Why would anyone want to be interested in working with me? And as I said, they help you grow. You don't have to be big. They want to get in front of your audience to make them get more visibility also. So that's how it got started. And I just went from there and realized that businesses also are able to get, not just nonprofits, but businesses are also able to get sponsors. And we start locally usually, and from there we get involved with doing something good for the community. Get the sponsors involved so that they're leaders in the community. And from there, we go to the national level. So we start locally doing something good, especially now with this time, with the virus. Everybody, if you turn on the TV, you see there's food shortages. There's so many people in need. And it's a great opportunity to become known in the community as doing good for the community.
Yeah, it's the power of community, to come together with another business and say, hey, how can we help each other get exposure? Right. And then you work together. It's a win-win for both you and the other company. I just have to go back and and ask the question, because I don't know if I'm the only one with this burning on my mind, but I got to know, like, were you able to save the kittens?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes.
Okay.
Actually, my very first sponsorship was, I didn't even realize that's what it was at the time, but we found some veterinarians, and they took them, they spay neutered, they gave them medications, they did surgeries. The bill would have cost, they even helped us find homes for some of them. The bill would have cost like around $25,000, and they didn't charge us a penny. And so we just, you know, it was like wonderful.
I'm so glad I asked, because you just mentioned another side of sponsorships that many people don't dive into. So how can you work with another company that can provide a service, maybe instead of the funds up front, that can provide a service that you can work with? And I call those joint venturing. You know, you're partnering with them. And how are you able to do that where you're trading or sharing versus, you know, having the sum of money come directly to you? That's just another way of sponsorships.
Right. And that's called in-kind gifts, where they will give you supplies and you know, computers, all kinds of things that you can get. So there's both sides. And, you know, as far as I'm concerned, it all is helpful when you're growing, because you need those supplies to grow your business and so on.
Yeah. And if you're able to put together like a drive that is able to bring in hydration campaigns, so you're able to help with water for the homeless or people that need it, or clothes, or toys, you know, for those for low income, especially maybe those that have lost their jobs. It's just a great way for you to come together with another company, and then your joint efforts in promoting that, you're not only helping each other with visibility, the company that you're serving is also promoting you, and you're giving them more visibility and helping someone, you know, that may be falling on hard times. So that's kind of a win-win-win.
Yeah. It's kind of like a four-way win, because you get the visibility, your sponsors do, the community can chip in, because we kind of get a little project going, so they're doing something worthwhile. And then whoever is benefiting, like if it's an abuse shelter for, you know, for abused people, or if it's a humane society or whatever it might be, they're benefiting also. So it's really, you know, like I said, a four-way win.
Yeah, absolutely, because people love to serve. You know, so you just open up that opportunity and that platform for them to do that. And that's just a wonderful way to do that without having to do it in your own funding and try and figure out how to do it by yourself, which is the power of community I wrote down. You know, it's the power of community and connecting with others to grow that message, to have them donate those goods, whatever it may be. We're not meant to do life alone. That is the whole reason why I created the Lead Up for Women community, is because even though we are powerful enough to do it alone, there's no need to, and it takes a tribe to move mountains. And so when we want to move mountains and you want to have a greater impact, like a true impact, like you said, getting little donations here and there, you could see wasn't doing anything for those kittens. They were still struggling. You needed a larger impact to happen. And how could you do that? You needed other resources to be able to assist you in doing that. So how would a female listening, there may be some males listening, and I know there are males that listen to our show, but how would, what is like the first step, would you say, that somebody needs to take to get involved in understanding how to start with sponsorships?
So you have, what I tell everyone is, if you have a business or a nonprofit, but mostly if you have a business, you want to connect in one way or another with, you know, doing good for somebody in the community. And then you contact your sponsors, you let them know what you have to offer them. You know, most people think of sponsorship as a booth at an event or a logo on a sign, but there are so many other ways that you can get visibility for sponsors, for potential sponsors. Like for you, for instance, you have a huge network. Social media is great. And so just take a look at what you might be able to offer sponsors, and write up a plan for different levels of sponsorship. Let the company that you want to sponsor you know what you're going to do for them. So many people make the mistake of saying, oh, we do this and we do that and we're so wonderful, and they don't really mention anything about their potential sponsor and what they've been doing and how they've helped maybe in the community. So you have to find out what they've been doing and build that relationship that way, and just really reach out to them in a dynamic way where you're saying, this is what we can do for you. Let's work together. And that's where it starts. Okay. The other good thing too is some of the companies, like let's take a local car dealer or an insurance company, many of them have corporate offices, national offices. So you start locally with them, and from there, you now have information that you can use to reach out to the national level and tell them, this is what we've been doing. We have pictures, we have videos, and you can be on their website nationally, in their newsletters. So it's a great opportunity for you to get nationally known that way also.
Yeah, absolutely. So those are good first steps. Find somebody in your community that you have a similar message with, that you can connect with. What is their message? What do they promote? How can you connect with them? And even though I was thinking, I can't really connect with a car dealership, well, if they support families the same way that I believe in supporting families, and then we could come together and do a drive, we absolutely could have something in common. So yes, I agree that is a way to do that. And even in my community, we have so many opportunities for sponsorship for us, as for not just having people sponsor, and give us money, but for us to be able to get our business out by sponsoring for something in your community, and make sure that people are really understanding your message and get to know you better and know that you're there, because sometimes they don't know.
And right now with the COVID and everything, everybody's joining in. So maybe one particular business only worked with some of the sports teams in town or the animal rescue, but right now everybody's doing local things. They're all trying to help. So really the field is, wide open.
It's crazy wide open. Like my community just did a drive where we're writing letters for the elderly in some of the homes that are close by that can't have visitors from family. So we're writing letters and dropping them off in a big bin, and then they're going to take them over to all of them, and just how beautiful that will be for them to get those letters when they feel alone and isolated.
And that's the kind of thing that's so simple to do.
Yeah. And you could be the company that steps forward to lead up that drive, and then your company name is getting noticed. And during that, you can also bring in some other sponsors that want to get their company name noticed through that. And then, you could have 5 or 6 of you working together. And now you can provide 8 different homes of elderlies that are together instead of 1, because you try to do it by yourself. So yeah, I definitely understand the power of community, and I'm glad that we nailed that in today so that everyone else understands how strong it is for us to work with others and bring, into the community. Or you can just, you can reach out to Arline, and she can help you, draft those letters. She can help give you some ideas, guide you, lead you, especially if you're just starting out and you really aren't sure what steps to take. We wanted to make sure that today we talked to you about ways you could build your business strategically. And this is one of the strategic ways that you can be well-known in your community, serve, as well as build your business. So Arline, how would our listeners get in connection with you?
Probably the easiest way is just to email me, info@findcorporatesponsors.com and info@findcorporatesponsors.com, and just put in their gifts. I have a few gifts that I could send, tips on how to get started with sponsorship. But like Heather, I think probably the most valuable would be a conversation with me. I could help people get started and they can ask questions, because there's so many unanswered questions, I think, that people just don't understand about sponsorships. They think, as I mentioned before, they think of it as a donation, or they think they have to be a nonprofit. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of misconceptions about that, and I can help them, understand it better.
For sure. For sure. We have so many sponsors that we work with for our sanctuary events that we've put a few of them on hold, but we're still going to do one in September. And, partnering with sponsors, like for my event, several of them provided gifts or food, or time or wine. I mean, we work with 3 Points Wellness, Stoka Nutrition, Sweet Apricity, Moulet Sausage, Base Culture, Capello's. These are all paleo food, because that's the type of food that we cooked as my celebrity chef came in. Paleo Magazine, we worked with Scout and Cellar. It's an all organic wine. So those were the wines that we had, that were paired with our dinners. KY Selenite, candles, Chalk to Me. This sign back here is made specifically for Lead Up for Women. She hand makes every single one of those signs. And so I have the females that own the businesses, because I work with, these are all female owned businesses, by the way, family, female owned businesses. And I didn't even name all of them, but I have them include all of their packaging, all of their cards, all of their contact, because when someone gets a gift or loves a candle or loves a sign that we have handmade for them, I want them to be able to order more. And I want them to be able to share that and do business with them. And, this is probably one of the favorite gifts that everybody gets. You can't tell, but it's like black sparkly. It's actually like in glitter. And she made them, specifically for us, because she makes and she stains all the wood and puts them together. And it's just such a special gift for us to receive. So it is important to have sponsors that you work with that can, that you can also spotlight. So our sponsors have a place in our magazine. They have a whole page where we have all of our sponsors in our magazine. So we're also giving back to them and making sure that that we're letting our community know that these are where you can buy your gifts. This is where you can buy your food. I still buy, I buy most of those foods. They're in my pantry right now. Further Foods, every morning I put the collagen in my coffee. Every morning, and when my big, huge tub runs out, I buy another tub from them. So I love all of our sponsors. It gives, our community the opportunity to also tap into these clean foods, because believe it or not, and I know Heather can support me on this, how our brain works and the neurology of our brain has a lot to do with what we're feeding it, not necessarily just through words or visuals, but through food. Food is medicine. We can either use it to heal us or kill us. Those are really the two ways we can use food. So, if we're, feeding our brains, we can have much more clarity and cognitive function if we're eating and exercising and taking care of ourselves. So it's super important. So ladies, it has been an absolute pleasure having you with me today. Thank you so much for your tidbits of information, your education, your inspiration. You've motivated our listeners to want to start working on their brain functionality, understanding that, and partnering in their community to do good. So we can be good, everybody. It's about a community. It's a power of community. So all of their information's in the description, and we'll put it in the comment section on Facebook. So make sure you take advantage. These are free consultation calls. That's it. They just want to see if they can help you. And I always want to recommend that you take advantage of these, because you never know when someone is going to cross your path that you need to meet. And this might be the person that inspired you today, and you need to pick up the phone, or you need to email them, or find them on their websites, and you need to connect with them, because they will change your life. And I believe that happens. So listen to your intuition. We're women, so listen to your intuition. And if you're prompted to reach out to them, please do so. You'll be sorry if you don't. I know so. So next week's guest on August 5th, we have Shaquana Hughes. She's a planner and a systems manager. Love everything about her. Who couldn't use more organization in your life? So that's always a good one. And then Cheryl Pullins is going to be with us. She's a global personal branding strategist, TEDx speaker, award-winning international speaker. So I'm really excited to have her on and talking about branding, how you're branded. How do people know you? What is the clarity of your message? You know, and then how do you organize yourself? So how's your brand organized? It's all the things we're going to be talking about next week. So make sure you tune in for that. And the last thing I want to say is, remember, you are the only you that has ever been. You are the only you that will ever be. So how you pioneer your life is up to you. So I want to remind you